What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome. It's Mr. Bitcoin Maxi. Now, what if I told you that owning just 0.21 Bitcoin can completely transform your future? Now, I know that sounds crazy, but stick with me because by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why that specific number might be the key to your financial freedom. Let's start with something that'll blow your mind, okay? There are only 21 million Bitcoin that will ever exist. So when you divide that by the world's population of roughly 8 billion people, you get 0.00262 Bitcoin per person. But here's where it gets interesting. Most people still don't understand what it is or why they should even care. So what happens when you own 0.21 Bitcoin? Now, you're holding 100 times more than the global average allocation. That's like being part of an incredibly exclusive club. Now, think about it this way, okay? You're positioning yourself in the top 1% of Bitcoin holders globally before most even realize what's happening. But let's get real about this, okay? What does it exactly mean for your life? Now, right now, 0.21 Bitcoin might not seem like much money. At current prices, we're talking maybe $20,000 to $30,000, depending on when you're watching this. Now, that's a decent chunk, right, of change, but it's not life-changing money by itself. Or is it possibly? Now, here's where the magic happens. Bitcoin isn't just another investment, it's a fundamental shift in how money works. Now, every time a government prints more currency, every time inflation eats away at your purchasing power, right? Every time banks create money basically out of thin air, Bitcoin becomes more valuable by comparison. Basically, it's like owning a piece of financial sovereignty. Now, let me paint a picture for you all, okay? Now, imagine it's 2030 and Bitcoin has continued its upward trajectory. Now, remember, Bitcoin has averaged roughly 50% annual returns over the past decade. Now, even if we're conservative and say it only grows, let's say 20% per year going forward, okay, your 0.21 Bitcoin could be worth several $100,000. Now, suddenly that modest investment looks very different. But you have to understand it's not just about the dollar amount, right? It's about what that represents. Now, when Bitcoin reaches mass adoption, when it's integrated into the global financial system, and when institutions hold it as a reserve asset, your 0.21 Bitcoin represents something very powerful. It represents your stake in the new financial system. Now, let's think about this. Most people are still stuck in the old mindset. They're saving dollars that lose value every year. They're literally putting money in savings account that pay less than inflation. They're buying stocks in companies that can be manipulated by central banks and government policies. But Bitcoin operates by different rules, okay? Now, here's what makes 0.21 Bitcoin so special. It's enough to be meaningful, but small enough to be achievable. Now, you don't need to be wealthy to accumulate this amount. You can dollar cost average your way there by $50 worth every week or $200 every month. Now, my biggest advice is cut out some unnecessary expenses. Pick up a side hustle. You have to sell stuff that you might not need. Now, the path to 0.21 Bitcoin is within reach for most people who are actually serious about their financial future. Now, let's talk about the psychology of this number. Now, when you own 0.21 Bitcoin, something clicks in your brain. You start thinking different about money, and you stop seeing Bitcoin as some speculative investment and start seeing it as actual digital property. And you essentially become protective of it. You start understanding why people talk about Bitcoin with so much passion, like myself, Mr. Bitcoin Maxi. And here's something most people don't even realize. Owning 0.21 Bitcoin changes how you think about spending. When you know that each Bitcoin might be worth $500,000 or $1 million someday, you become much more intentional about your purchases. Now, for example, do you really need that expensive coffee every day when that money could buy more Bitcoin? This shift in mindset alone can transform your finances, and it has transformed mine over the years. But now, here's the tipping point. Let's get practical. What could 0.21 Bitcoin actually do for your life? Well, if Bitcoin reaches some of the price predictions that experts are throwing around, anywhere from 500,000 to over 1 million per coin, your 0.21 Bitcoin could be worth 100,000 to $200,000 or even more. Now, that's literally enough to pay off student loans for some people. That's a down payment on a house. That's a year or two of living expenses if you need to take risks on a business or career change. That's freedom to make choices based on what you want to do, not just what you need to do to pay bills. Now, I'm not saying this will definitely happen. Nobody can predict the future with certainty, okay? But consider the trend. Bitcoin has started at essentially zero, right? It hit $1, then 10, then 100, then 1,000, then 10,000. then 100,000. Each milestone seemed impossible until it ultimately wasn't. Now let's talk about what's driving this growth: scarcity, adoption, and monetary debasement. There will never be more than 21 million Bitcoin. Meanwhile, more people and institutions adopt it every day. Countries are making it actual legal tender. Companies are putting on their balance sheets. Investment funds are creating Bitcoin ETFs. And all while central banks keep printing money, ultimately making scarce assets more valuable. Now, here's something that actually might surprise you. Owning 0.21 Bitcoin isn't just about the money, it's about being part of the movement. It's about understanding that the financial system is changing and positioning yourself accordingly. It's about taking control of your financial destiny, okay? Instead of hoping that your employer, your government, or your bank will take care of you. Now, let me tell you something. When you own Bitcoin, right, you own something that can't be inflated away, that definitely cannot be confiscated easily, that doesn't depend on any single government or institution. You own a piece of a network that operates literally 24/7, 365 days a year, processing transactions without discrimination or censorship. But here's the real kicker, okay? The opportunity to accumulate 0.21 Bitcoin at reasonable prices will not last forever. Now, as more people are waking up to what Bitcoin represents, as more institutions start buying, as the supply gets locked up in long term holdings, the price will reflect that reality. Now, right now, most people still see Bitcoin as too risky, too volatile, too complicated. That's your actual opportunity. While they're sitting on the sidelines, right, you can be accumulating right now. While they're waiting for certainty, you can be building your position right now. Now, the question isn't whether Bitcoin will go up in value over the long term. Now, the question is how much it will go up and how long it will actually take. Now, every metric suggests that we're still in the early stages of Bitcoin adoption. Most of the world still doesn't even know anything about Bitcoin and doesn't even own any Bitcoin. And most institutions still don't have significant Bitcoin holdings. Most countries still don't have clear Bitcoin policies. So, with all this being said, what should you do? The best thing to do is start accumulating. Do not try to time the market, okay? Don't wait for the perfect entry point. Start buying small amounts regularly. Set up automatic purchases. And the best thing to do is treat it like a savings account that you literally never touch. And I want you all to remember, 0.21 Bitcoin isn't just a number, okay? It's literally a goal. It's a target that puts you in an exclusive category of Bitcoin holders. It's enough to potentially change your life without being so much that it's impossible ultimately to achieve. Now, the early adopters of Bitcoin, right, have already seen life changing wealth creation. But I want you all to understand in this video, we're still early enough that owning 0.21 Bitcoin could put you in that exact category. Now, the train is leaving the station, okay, but you do still have time to get on board. Trust me, your future self will thank you for taking action today. So start your Bitcoin journey now if you haven't already, because the opportunity to accumulate significant amounts at these prices, I'm telling you, will not last forever. Now, the question isn't whether you can afford to buy Bitcoin. The question is whether you can afford literally not to. Now, if you made it this far into the video, thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate it. I'm Mr. Bitcoin Maxi. We're all Bitcoin Maxis. Let me know in the comments your guys' thoughts on 0.21 Bitcoin, and I'll see you all in the next one. Have a good day.